Hello and welcome. Tonight we are going to be joined by some amazing media makers, PhillyCAM members. Tonight we're talking about Whose Message, Our Message, an interactive media literacy session bringing together PhillyCAM producers to discuss their work in relationship to media ownership. Tonight, some of the panelists that will be with us are Anissa Cooper and Janine Spruill from Lil Filmmakers. Give us a little wave so we know who you are. Adrienne Dolberry from who produces The New Healer and also is a co-owner of the Studio 34 Yoga studio. And Anissa Cooper, excuse me, Anissa Taylor from Higher Than Seven. Sorry about that, Anissa, Adrienne. It's a lot. Cool. So let me tell you a little bit more about the show tonight. As I said, we're going to explore how community media supports spaces for Black and Brown creators to address issues that concern the needs of our community, uninfluenced by commercial pressures and societal biases. My name is Ariel Taylor. I'm the youth media manager at PhillyCAM. I forgot to mention that. And as I mentioned, tonight we're kind of focusing on the key media literacy aspect, which is why is this message being sent? And so we're really focusing and hoping to support the importance of Black voices controlling their own narratives as we focus on that media literacy question. And for those of you who may be asking, like, what is media literacy? That's a really great question. And a way that I always kind of try to explain it is basically how to read and understand the media. Why are certain messages being sent, and who's behind the media that's being created? And so tonight we're gonna be looking at different media short clips from Anisse and Janine and Anissa and Adrienne, and kind of have some targeted questions to look at. So I'm gonna welcome up Anissa and Janine now. So I'm gonna give a little info about Anissa. Anissa Cooper is a Temple University graduate with a BA in Media Studies and Production, concentration in media business and in entrepreneurship as well. That's awesome, Anissa. She's been writing and directing since she was 13 with Lil Filmmakers, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preparing young artists for successful careers in film. And she now acts as a director of media culture. Also, her PSA Young Woman, a Positive Body Image, I Love Being Me, was an official Black Star Film Festival selection for 2013. And also as a Nate Parker Summer Film Institute resident, she wrote in 2018 a Pan-African Film Festival selection called Baggage. So welcome, Anissa. And also we have Janine Spruill, the founder and executive director of Lil Filmmakers. And Janine is a Philadelphia native and holds a degree from Temple as well for media arts. So film and media arts. So thank you both so much for being here. I'm super excited to show your work and to have like a really targeted conversation with you both. Anissa, I'm wondering if you could kind of set up the clip for us.
Oh, sure. First, I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this event. But the clip that you are about to see is at the tail end of a short film that I directed and wrote back in 2018, Black Boys. So you're kind of going into the climax part of the film, and I don't want to describe it too much, but yeah, it's probably the best part.
Awesome. All right, let's check out a clip from Black Boys.
Yo, hey! Yo, relax!
Get to you
Yo,
in
what
a
are you
second,
doing?
You want my shit anyway.
You good, man? No, man, I'm not good, man. Did you not see that shit? We didn't fucking do nothing, bro. We didn't do shit, man. What you mean, relax, bro? It's not no relax. We didn't do nothing.
I said,
we didn't do nothing, man. What? We didn't do shit.
Relax.
What?
Chill, man.
What?
Look, listen to me, man. Don't let the lies of the world become the truth you tell yourself, man. Come on. Don't let the lies of the world become the truth you tell yourself. Come on, man.
Yeah. Just that was like that was a lot there. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I just want to remind folks that if you're just tuning in, this is a media literacy event. Whose message, our message. Right now, I'm talking with Anissa Cooper from Lil Filmmakers, and we just saw an awesome clip from her film Black Boys, and I'd love to kind of ask you, one of the first lines in the film is, "Do not let the lies of the world become the truths that you tell yourself." And connecting that to the larger media landscape that we are all kind of working and living in. As a creator, what messages has the media told you about yourself and the role that you should have? And I'd love to know, how would you like to reshape that? How would you like to kind of reclaim that and spit something back out into the world?
Oh yeah, no, that's a really great question. I think for the most part, the types of messages that I've received about myself, like from whether it's in film or television or other aspects of media, is that when it comes to Black art specifically, it's kind of stereotype, filtered, or shown as like from caricatures type point of view. I don't think that Black people are always shown in the full complexity, just that we are as humans, as every other human person. So I think the work that I aim to do is to try to reshape that, to show not just certain types of like struggles, but to kind of just paint an array of the experience that we experience as Black people, and our and how racism specifically shapes some of those views. Oh, I thought
My bad.
I got scared.
It's like no matter how long you've been like working in this virtual space, you still end up being muted somehow. Like, how does that happen? Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I think, you know, watching that film as like a Black parent too, I think that's something that like everyone fears is like seeing these images that we saw on the screen. And yeah, I just think it was a really beautiful message, and I hope that folks get to go and check out the entire film. Keep sending these messages in on Facebook and YouTube, sending us claps. We love it. Shout out to Gretchen. Hey. Yeah, so I would love to ask another question around you know, more of the narrative. So what narrative were you hoping that folks walked away from after viewing that film? Like, who were you specifically hoping to reach, and why?
Right. I think that I was, like, first and foremost, I was specifically hoping to reach Black millennials, my own peer group, not even just Black men, but Black women, especially, because of the just what your question that you just posed previously, the idea that the media has portrayed us in certain ways, or not even that, to go a little deeper, the interactions that we've had, how society has treated us, and growing up and becoming aware of that, becoming woke in that sense, it can be a lot mentally, like really heavy. So I wanted to pose that message to people in any instance, whether it's race or whether it's sexual orientation, whether it's your religious background, that the lives of the world should not be that truth that you tell yourself, that you do have to be your own encourager at time, and to not internalize hatred. So that's what that's what my message was for.
Yeah, and that's a heavy message. I mean, that's something that I feel like, you know, regardless of whatever you're working in, whatever you're doing, like that's something that you kind of have to constantly tell yourself, because whether it's media or it's not, I think that there's a lot of bias and misconceptions about Black and brown folks, queer folks, all of that, right? That we have to continue to not absorb, because then we're kind of like feeding into it, right? And it's challenging.
Yeah.
It's a challenging thing.
Yeah, it is. And it's a difficult task to ask of people, because, you know, we're human, we are sensitive at times. So I just kind of wanted it to be encouraging more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that you have been making media at Lil Filmmakers since you were 13 years old. So that is absolutely amazing. I think in one of the calls I talked about like how like that's like a dream of mine, right? Is like the youth media coordinator, to see a student participate in the programs, come up through the program, and then be actually working at the organization and creating stories. I think it's amazing. And I'm wondering, you know, over the course of the time that you've worked with Lil Filmmakers, I'm wondering like how you see funding affecting the stories that we get to tell as Black and brown creators, or what this funding look like for you? Like what would it look like for you to be able to fund the dreams and the hopes of people creating at Little Filmmakers? It's a good question.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I was like, these are really good questions. I guess like, well, first and foremost, like I was so grateful to be a part of a program like Little Filmmakers. I see the impact that funding does have, because the older you get, you know, if you look at like the first film that I did versus Black Boys, it is very different in terms of like quality. I think like my first film was shot with like a standard definition camera. So you can definitely see like there's growth there. But for me, funding didn't come in terms of like money, but it came in terms of support, resources. And that's something that Janine, our founder, she championed and she did the best at, in terms of not just making sure that our projects had like financial support, but also bringing in people, bringing in people, professionals that were either mentors or that were a resource to continue to elevate our work. Because Black Boys was the first film that I, you know, financially put money to, and I was inspired to do that because of her, because we talked about also the importance of being able to fund your own work and what that means to be able to see the value in it, so that when you are trying to fundraise or you are applying for grants or fellowships, you know the value of that dollar. So it also, because I know applying to things can be very intimidating, especially getting rejected, but then you can just keep going because you know that you've invested in yourself first and foremost. So that's important. So having done that, it's like, well, at the end of the day, I'm gonna continue to do that. So that, I think that funding comes in various ways, and I just hope that we can continue to offer the resources to all creatives in Philadelphia, those same type of opportunities that I was afforded, but most importantly through like the information is what I find is key. The people and the introductions and the nurturing of certain relationships that could lead to that next level are like not replaceable at all. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Janine, I would love to hear if you want to add. I know there's definitely different needs now, especially with COVID happening. And I want to just like lift up and honor that you're also like an entrepreneur, right? Like you had this idea to bring, you know, little brown kids, getting them to use cameras. I admire you tremendously. And I think that there needs to be more programs like this, right? There needs to be more people doing this type of work. And what does that, how do we get things like this funded, or what is it that we really need?
Yeah, it's interesting just thinking like I started doing this work my last year at Temple only because I love the movie so much, but there weren't any programs available for me to learn how to tell my story or just learning how to use a camera. So it just came out of my own need and understanding that I grew up in West Philadelphia, like Mantua, and it was a disenfranchised community. And my mother would take me to the library. This is before the internet. And I would learn filmmaking and the movie industry from reading books. And I really didn't touch my first camera until I got to Temple. So a lot of that for me, my last year at Temple was how do I fill that void in the community? Because these young Black disenfranchised kids are going to be overlooked when it comes to those resources or those opportunities. And I did that back in '99. And here we are 20 plus years later. It's like amazing to watch these young people who, and this isn't the only one that started off at 13 is now in their 20s, right? So there's obviously something that's there. And it's just not necessarily teaching young people like media literacy. It's also that self-empowerment. It's that how do you activate that agency? Anissa held for her next project, she held a not a fundraiser, but what would we call like a luncheon, and is invited folks
a
to come
brunch.
in. Yeah, we had a brunch, and she advocated for her art. She advocated to tell her story about Black women, and invited all these Black women to our space, and they donated to her. So filmmaking, media literacy, and then understanding how to use your agency to amplify your voice, but also sustain yourself. And that's the key thing that I don't think people understand and learn. Even if they get a degree in it, they don't understand how to utilize those resources, how to network, how to fundraise, how to advocate for yourself. So that's what I work hard to make sure, you know, that's what we baked all of that in to the work that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a key thing that I'm hearing is access, right? And it's not necessarily always monetary. The access and the drive and the motivation is there. And I think that you all are like really building a legacy, which is another thing that like a lot of Black folks can't say that they have that connection to. And so whether it's connected to family or it's connected to an actual program, you're building this legacy of, you know, Black and brown media creators who are sharing their stories. And I just want to, you know, say thank you. And I'm really excited that we got the opportunity to be able to talk to y'all.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Yes, we really appreciate it.
Cool. All right. So up next, we have Adrienne Dolberry, PhD, who created the new Leader television show that airs on PhillyCAM. So starting into her early days as a graduate student, Adrienne has incorporated meditation practices into her spiritual development with over 800 hours of silent retreat experience, and has facilitated yoga and Zen meditation practices and designed health and wellness programming to support various communities since 2006, including people of color, children, medical students, and teaching faculty. In 2018, Adrienne joined as a new co-owner of the Studio 34 Yoga, promoting classes and workshops for people of color and expanding the studio's community outreach. For self-care, Adrienne enjoys riding bikes and hiking in nature, helping her to reconnect and reground herself. So hey, Adrienne. Yes, Black people hike. We do it. It's a thing. I don't do it, but Adrienne does. Because why? We're not a monolith.
Exactly.
Also, thank you so much for being here, Adrienne.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And just to say that the show is called The New Healer.
The New Healer. I'm sorry. What did I say?
I think it's a leader.
Oh, God. I'm sorry. The New Healer. It's right here in my notes, but I read it wrong. I'm sorry. The New Healer is a great show on PhillyCAM. Yeah, Adrienne, I'd love for you to set up the clip that we're getting ready to see from The New Healer.
Yeah, thanks. What you're about to see is a mix of the clips of the shows that have been released at PhillyCAM already. And what we have is a mixture of interviews and pictures from women who are Black wellness practitioners in acupuncture, yoga, and other types of modalities. And here what you're seeing is our Zoom interviews that we took just as the pandemic was starting, because we were set to do filming at Studio 34, and then the closure came on March 16th. So this is where now we can see the Zoom interviews and see people sharing just tidbits from each of the stories.
Awesome. Let's check it out.
It's like no one ever complimented me in things that like weren't tangible.
You know what I mean? Wellness comes from us. The first civilization that ever saw a healed hip was in Africa. It started with us.
I know what I want and don't want to do. It was about the Hippocratic Oath. You know, I took an oath and I believed in that oath, and I still believe in that oath. But what's happening in major hospitals is not the best use of many healers' time, energy, or, you know.
It's being able to sit with myself. That's really important. And when I say sit with myself, and some folks talk about just meditation, of the idea of just being able to sit and like try to block everything out, I actually sit and try to feel everything, so that what's manifesting, the things that I don't voice, appears in my body. It appears as the aches in my shoulders, that knot in my stomach, right? All these things are my divine essence speaking to me through my body.
Biggest challenge is that people of color haven't really, it's not as mainstream amongst us for all of those reasons that you probably listed, the financial, the spiritual, and then just not knowing, like just not having access to it, not being raised in an environment where, you know, if you have a headache or your monthlies when you have cramps, then they're giving you Motrin.
Of the people that I met inside the psychiatric system, I'd say about a third of them were having clear spiritual emergencies. Spiritual emergencies, particularly between the ages of 18 and 25. And everybody's getting locked up and medicated or, you know, chemically restrained. So at 63, don't have any of those problems about who I talk to.
Anytime I feel that anytime you work with the healing arts and assisting others in their healing, you put yourself at a risk for absorbing some of that residual energy and not claiming it as good, bad, light, dark, or anything. Just putting yourself out there to potentially absorb some of it, which will then cloud your vision or cloud your understanding sometimes of yourself. You got to realize, is this mine? You know, am I feeling like this, or is this something else that I've picked up?
Reminded that there's certain things in the universe and certain phenomena that we just don't know, and we have to like have faith and be able to hold space for the unknown. So yeah.
What you guys are doing is so important for other Black women to see, like, okay, you know, there is some, like, I don't know, it's real magic, and you can be connected to it in your own way, and you can find your lane and make it happen.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I'm just like, I'm wondering, just even watching that clip for you, what sticks out or what like is resonating of this like amazing work that you're giving us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I turned 43 last year, and I really didn't know how to start to tell the story I wanted to tell. And just being so new with all of this, and the beautiful gift of PhillyCAM providing an opportunity, it's just amazing to finally start to see like these conversations show up in a way where it could start to be discussed and start to connect with others. And I'm like such a novice and an amateur at this, but what I love about PhillyCAM is that PhillyCAM is a great place to be able to say, share your story. You don't have to get to this certain type of point to get your story out. And so that was a big plus. And just seeing the practitioners there is just really inspiring, because this was right when COVID started. So these are people in the industry that was really hit by the onset of the pandemic. And these are interviews that were right at that onset. And just to see how strong, and not in this stereotypical, like Black woman put on the cape strong, but a strength in like that they were like we've been through this before. I've had a transition where things were tough. Let's move forward. It's just amazing to see this kind of unfold in a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just like, thank you, because I think that even in the media that we're seeing on PhillyCAM, like, this is really like new and refreshing and interesting for us to be able to even share. So thank you for that gift. And I think that you also kind of just touched on something where it's like, I think as Black and Brown creators or wherever you're working, it's like you constantly have to kind of prove yourself before you're given access to things. And I think that the really cool thing about PhillyCAM is that we are continuously offering and saying that, like, you don't have to be, Ava DuVernay rolling up in here. Like, you have an idea, you are your own entity, and you bringing your own skills and knowledge to us, and we're grateful for that. So I just want to say thank you again. And so I was doing some research and I read a Philly Mag article. And in that article, you mentioned that you wanted to increase the presence of Black and Brown folks in the wellness space as like a top priority for you. Like, in your opinion, that was something that was high up there. And I'm wondering why you think that commercial media doesn't prioritize or advertise or even share that there's Black and Brown people doing yoga, practicing mindfulness, doing the things that you do, Adrienne. Like, why do you think commercial media doesn't show us that stuff?
Yeah, I feel like when I think about commercial media, especially in the wellness industry, it always comes down to this conversation of, let's solve your problem. And it's always this thing of like, we're going to look at what is the solution that, we can just, mass market. And our stories are constantly left out. And just like was brought up in the clip, is that there's so much that has started with us. And to have it where when you're looking at people trying to sell and what they think they know, who's in the companies, like who's making the decision, like who's being able to see what gets there. So it always comes back to where wellness is hard in general, to try to, as a wellness practitioner, as a person in the industry, to try to like get, clients or people that you want to work with. And then as someone who's not considered like, white, skinny, white female, able body, probably like cis presenting, this is something where it even gets harder. So it's just one of like, okay, how am I going to make money? And I feel like it's just one of those things where if people can't see a way quickly to make money, they're just going to move on. And it doesn't mean, number one, that you can't, but it's also like, who's there to support us? And I like what was brought up by Janine in the last segment of who has agency. And I feel that with the studio, I do have more agency to be able to pull resources together and create space for Black and Brown people more in the wellness community, as well as be able to see what we can do to get our stories out there. So I want to be able to take advantage of that. But yeah, it's like, who's there rooting for us and actually can make the decisions,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's power, like it's that agency, that power and decision making of being there and having that access also, and knowledge. Is like such a massive like combination of all of these things that like that you're holding or gaining and learning. That was really, really well said. Thank you. What is a message or narrative that you really want to give audiences around wellness?
Where that, number one, you can have it where there's a lot of ways of looking at wellness and defining wellness for you. And there's so many entry points. So because I feel like when I have like the everyday conversations, the social conversations, it's always like a to-do list, a checklist, just like for the reason, my inspiration behind a new healer. I would have other Black women come up to me and say, I want to get into wellness. How can I do it? And people are looking for like a to-do list.
Wow.
So I feel like that's kind of like this thing that still goes in of like, give me A to Z on what to do instead of really being engaged with it. So I want people to feel that there's this engagement and that to bring themselves into the conversation and look at wellness, not into, I take a yoga class, I drink water, and I get a good night's sleep, but looking at wellness of like, what are your relationships there for you? What does your community look like? What is your community in terms of support for you moving forward? Really broadening the conversation. That's what I would like to see. And I'm hoping that there's more people that can put that out there as well.
Yes, I'm going to be sitting with some of those questions. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is more than having this list of like, I'm checking these boxes, so I must be good, right?
Yeah, like robot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a wellness robot. You're not a wellness.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And you kind of touched on this agency part, and I want to kind of go back to that. As a business owner and a creator, what financial decisions have you had to make to stay authentic to this purpose and mission? And that could be I know it's kind of a big question, but
no problem. Yeah, and just to really honestly, it's like a short answer where it's like it evolves every time with new wisdom and new interactions with things in my life. And the thing now is I always start, before I start to interact with any new experience that may be for, okay, do I need to take, another gig, or do I need to look at a way where let's see how things play out first? Is I ask myself, number one, what are the relationships that are involved and how will they be affected? And you can't predict everything, but that for me, wellness really now is about how am I engaging with others? Because if it's all just about me and I'm not thinking about the world I live in, it's just a short view. And then from there, what is the reason that I'm even doing this? So that way, if I take a financial decision to say, for example, invest in new equipment, or if I decide to do a new gig, if it doesn't work out or something goes awry, I could still go back to my reason and try to learn from there. And then is it sustainable? Because when I first started this wellness journey, it's easy to throw money at different things because capitalism is kind of showing up for you to try to say, oh, you're a new business owner, spend your money on this and you'll be a success. And then so now really looking at more about what's sustainable for me, my energy, what's sustainable for my community. And then also, am I making this decision out of anxiety, or have I really thought things through and had time to sit with myself and figure out my why and figure out my relationships before moving on?
Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, this might be just new for me too, but like COVID has definitely made me focus even more, on relationships. And so for you to have already been in this space and already just have been thinking that way, for a while, I really appreciate that, because that's something that's like very, like not new, but it's something that's just like has become even more important to me, in building and thinking about how I make moves around those things. Yeah, it looks like there's some questions in the chat. I'm gonna see if I can kind of pull it out because there's a lot happening here. But let me see. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Oh,
one.
There's one. Yeah. You see it too? What fueled your decision to transition from an extensive background in STEM to a leader in the healing arts? Does your science background inform what you do now in any way? Thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's Jania. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. That's a great question. And the first thing I say is that I was always curious about how life worked ever since I was a kid. And I was just always curious about, like, why did leaves change a certain color? And why did this happen? Why did that happen? But, from there, I first took of what I considered what was exploring life, which is, the study of life in biology. And that was where I was able to really see and just observe. And that's what I loved about it. And when I was in the industry, I started then to run into students, other faculty members, and I had my own experience around stress, around unresolved childhood trauma, and wellness first started with me. And slowly but surely, with like extracurricular programming and conversations, I started to expand like what I learned to other people, especially my colleagues. And it came a point when I took a class called Career Theory and Development at St. Joe's. And that class brought out that there was a big part of me that was connected not only to entrepreneurship, but also with wellness as well as spirituality. And when I transferred over, a lot of the skills I had in science really spoke there. So like, how do you organize systems? How do you start to be able to make connections? And taking that jump was really out of the fact that I got to a point in science where I felt like what I was doing wasn't speaking to me anymore. And so that small thing I was doing aside with wellness started to increase to the point where I couldn't silence it any longer. And it was a lot of pressure because you have a PhD and you move into wellness. And that's the inspiration for the New Healer, because it was a very hard transition and, a lot of raised eyebrows. And so I really had to go through a journey. And so the New Healer was a way to kind of show people about my journey and other people's journey about moving and transitioning careers. So I would say I still study life, but it's just through wellness. And I still look at systems just like I did in science and still observing. And now I'm just observing more through the healing arts, more so than through a microscope or through an Eppendorf tube. So it's probably a book in itself, but that's I wanted to make it because I wanted to make sure not to take up so much time.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, Adrienne, you're magical. And thank you for bringing a New Healer to PhillyCAM. And now, all the folks who got to kind of witness and hear about the media that you're making and just the path that you've been on. I appreciate you. Great. So now we're going to bring up Anissa Taylor, he could be a cousin. I don't know. We do have the same last name. I would love for you to be my cousin, Anissa.
We're family. We're family.
Yes, we are. We're PhillyCAM
right.
family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm going to give some back info about Anissa. So Anissa Taylor, aka AT Sounds, is an entrepreneur, screenwriter, director, music, film, and TV producer, and a consultant for Higher Than Seven Productions, based here in Philadelphia. After completing his first album production as a musical producer, he decided to dive more into the artistry of the records by directing music videos, excuse me. After directing his first music video, he knew that he had found a calling. And so writing and directing visual content became more of a focus. Since then, he has directed, produced, and consulted on a number of TV shows, music shows, and short films, stage plays, and documentaries. Recently, Anissa has taken a new role as an entrepreneur, as a co-founder of Snap Refund. Definitely want to learn more about that. A tech company changing the online refund experience for both customers, merchants, as well as an insurance company and Claimant. Welcome, Anissa.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I try to stay busy. It's COVID and I ain't got nothing else to do in the house, so I just try to stay as busy as possible.
I probably maybe offline want to know what your morning routine looks like, because that's really what hangs me up, from completing my goals in life.
We can talk offline.
Can you tell us a little bit about the clip that we're about to see?
Sure, yeah. So this is a show that we created and actually aired on PhillyCAM. We produced it, created it on PhillyCAM for PhillyCAM. It's called Who Wants to Star in a Movie, where actors perform their best monologues in front of judges for a chance to star in a movie. Wow. What had happened, I was doing a lot of productions before this idea and the concept came about. And when I was doing casting calls, I was just running into so many talented actors and actresses in Philadelphia, in the tri-state area, New Jersey and Delaware. And I just felt that there was something that we could do with all this talent that I was seeing that could help them, even though they might not get the role. I'm always thinking about how I could just help and make an impact in society. And so that's where the idea for Who Wants to Star in a Movie came about, was just to give these actors an opportunity that they could just show their skills to the world, even in a casting call. And the show has taken off. We've done 2 seasons and we're getting ready to air our movie for the winner of season 2, who is Abdul Cisse of Who Wants to Star in a Movie. And the name of that film is called The Rise of a Dragon, which will be airing on higherthan7.com as well as on PhillyCAM. So what you're going to see is just a clip introduction as well as Abdul and a short snippet from The Rise of a Dragon.
Awesome. Let's check it out.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. I want you to close your eyes. Picture yourself on a movie set. The lights is bright, the camera angles is right, and not a distraction in sight. The director yells, action! There you are, doing your thing. Your lines is hitting and everybody loves you. You always dreamed about being a big movie star. Now here you are. The director yells, cut! Now open your eyes. Amazing, right? My name is AT Sounds and I'm the writer and creator of Who Wants to Star in a Movie, a TV show that lets actors and actresses perform 60 to 90 seconds of the best monologues in front of judges for a chance to star in their own movie. If there's no better word you love than lights, camera, action, then this is the show for you. Now my only question to you is, who wants to star in a movie?
My name is Abdul Cisse. I'm from Ewing, New Jersey. Been acting since high school. My favorite show in the world is The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just seeing Will Smith, act a fool, be the smooth dude he was on that show, really inspired me to be like that and now act on film and show. When I'm on stage or in front of the camera, I feel like a surge of confidence. I feel like the best version of myself. I feel like I get the chance and opportunity to exercise my God-given talent. I remember seeing a post on Facebook, if you want to star in your movie, come out to the show. It's a live taping. It should be fun. I was like, man, I don't really get the opportunity to, star in a film. So I was like, why not? All right, so I'm about to meet with the lovely Christina May. Found a piece. I'm trying to get her to give me some feedback on it. I think there's a lot of work that needs to go into it, and I feel like she will have the right things to say. So let's see what she says. Hey, how you been?
Amazing. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to work.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna put you to work.
Oh, okay.
Because they gonna get that work.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
I'm looking forward to seeing him own his talent and his space. I think that when artists get the spotlight, it's a tend to rush the moment. And I want him to enjoy his greatness and share his talent with everything. You can have the script, you can have the words, but it's yourself, it's your being that illuminates that energy, you know what I mean? So all I want him to see him do is to do the work and just execute what I know he has the ability to do. He has what it takes. He's charming, he's talented, he's smooth, and I think if he uses his instrument, his ability and his gifts to his advantage, I think that he will knock this completely out of the park. This is going to be something that is going to be worth watching and worth voting for.
Hey, my name is Abdul Cisse, and I want to star in the movie. So remember, #Abdul and #star in the movie.
wisdom, discipline, strength. Yes. Yes. Attack with your virtues. Remember, the warrior uses his wisdom to overcome his enemy, his discipline to outsmart the enemy, and his strength to overpower the enemy. Wisdom, discipline, strength. Wisdom, discipline.
Discipline.
Yes.
Strength.
Yes.
Wisdom.
Yes.
Discipline.
Yes.
Strength. Baba, we should end for the day. You can barely stand.
You could barely stand.
I wish I could do that.
A dragon must never lose focus.
Baba. Right here, Baba. I'm here. Come on. Right here. This way. Yeah. This way. We should end for the day. You need some rest.
Rest. Do you know the path of the Dragon Temple, Theo?
You're gonna be all right. You just need to sleep.
Do you know the path to the Dragon Temple?
Baba, I'm not a true dragon. And only a true dragon can enter the Dragon Temple.
Theo. You were born a dragon.
Lights, camera, action.
Hey, wow. Yeah, who wants to star in a movie? And it's like, I mean, maybe, possibly. I don't really remember lines or read that well, but
but you can try out though.
That was awesome, Anisse. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I would just love to kind of just jump right in and kind of talk about Higher Than 7. You must have obviously saw that there was a need or something missing, and I'm wondering if you can kind of speak to that, like what was missing from other platforms that maybe didn't, that you saw, we needed. Or even if you want to kind of just mention or talk about, Who Wants to Be in a Movie, like that's obviously a very unique show. Like, why did you feel like that was important, that story was important to tell?
Sure. So I'll give you two answers. The first answer is to the why we started Higher Than 7 in the streaming service part. So really one thing that I kind of have always tried to do is kind of just be on the front end of a lot of technologies and a lot of new trends. So back when we were starting Higher Than 7, we were realizing that a lot of people were going away from cable and they were cord cutting. So our goal was to be able to create a platform where all this content that we were developing, we would be able to have a platform when people were just getting offline and soaking their content in on their smartphones, on their tablet, online. So we were kind of one of the first streaming companies in that space before HBO Max, Disney Plus, a lot of those companies. And so that was one of the main reasons. In addition to that, it was also about the impact and being a platform that was really for the people. And that's just all people, especially in Philadelphia, in the tri-state area. And then from there, just spreading out. So that was the main reason why we started Higher Than 7. And then for Who Wants to Star in a Movie, one of the reasons why we did that was just for the simple fact that just actors and actresses and the incredible talented people that we have in Philadelphia just needed a platform. And, you know, I really value what we have at PhillyCAM, what we've done at Higher Than 7, and just wanted to leverage that platform and just our ability to produce and to expose and get people out there and create an opportunity for them. So that's really what came about with Who Wants to Star in a Movie. And really it's been an extreme success because not only just has the winners gotten their own film, which we've had 2 seasons of, but a lot of the actors that we've had that's come on to Who Wants to Star in a Movie has gotten on other shows and been able to move and do other things in the acting space. And a lot of the confidence, a lot of the opportunities, and a lot of the exposure started at Who Wants to Star in a Movie.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing to be able to give, you know, actors specifically, you know, this opportunity. And I think that a lot of times we talk about, like, you know, especially in communities of color, you know, we rise up and we either go to school or we become successful in some type of way. And it's always this mentality of like, we need to reach back and help people. But really, I think that, and it's kind of connected to all the folks on this show, is that like, we're also reaching forward, right? Like we're also doing a lot of forward thinking about, like, you know, the content that we're creating, the spaces that we want to make, the stories that we want to tell. And so in that case, we're reaching backwards and forwards, right? Like we're just trying to build. And so I just appreciate your forward thinking in this, Anissa.
Thank you.
Is awesome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the content creators that you have chosen to be on Higher Than 7, and why you believe that their media needed a space on your platform?
Absolutely. Well, one of the content creators that we have is We Talk Weekly. Charles Gregory, that I met at PhillyCAM, who's a mentor of mine. You know, we've been able to bring them onto the platform, and this is just additional exposure. So a lot of artists right now, you know, the way they really want to maximize their potential and get in the widest reach is to be on as many platforms as possible. And what we want to do is we want to be a supplement. We want to just add to that. We're not thinking too much about exclusives. We just want to be extra. So, you know, in addition to you being on Twitter, you being on Instagram, you know, you're going to cover so much more space if you're on more social media platforms. It's the same way with content on PhillyCAM, on YouTube, on Higher Than 7, on Facebook. It just maximizes your reach. In addition to that, we work with one of the hip hop pioneers, Bobito Garcia, who we have for Full Court 21. We have a new documentary that's actually getting ready to drop next week on Hank Gathers, who is a famous Philadelphia basketball player. We're working with an incredible filmmaker named Tone Paris. And the list goes on and on, but a lot of the content as well that we have on Higher Than 7 is self-produced content. It's content that we've produced in-house. And like I said, just in addition to all the different platforms, just being able to have a home is really important when it comes to distribution. So those are just to name a few. And there's a lot more. Please, you know, go to Higher Than 7. You'll be able to see a lot of the different contents that we create. Dance Yum was the one that we got to work on that created a lot of opportunities for dancers, and they were able to maximize that.
Yeah,
so,
really, really beautiful work. And again, like, I just can't help but to keep going back to when I see your work, Anisse, or when I think about the media that you're creating, it is really forward thinking. And it's also like, why don't we see more Black and brown people producing these types of like game shows or you know, like media content, narrative stories? Why don't we see those types of things? And it's like, well, Anisse is doing it, so it is being done right now, right? We need more Anisses, we need more Anissas, we need more Adriennes, right? We need them.
If you want, I'll say this too. On top of that, Ariel, we also need more of you. We need more PhillyCAMs because we do have a lot of these great talented filmmakers that are Black and brown all over the country and all over the world, but we just don't have that many platforms to highlight them. And there's a lot of creative artists out there that's doing amazing things, and their stuff is probably living on YouTube, on Facebook, and might not get as many views. So when we have shows like Whose Message, you know, and just bringing those talented creators to the forefront, we'll see a lot more of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about just some of your dreams and aspirations for Higher Than 7? And you know, what are some things that you personally like had to kind of navigate to even, you know, bring some of those like dreams and ideas like into existence? Is it something where it's like, you know, you have to kind of fight your own inner self, you have to do some inner work and kind of push through, or were people kind of like closing some doors?
Well, the doors are closed all the time, you know, and that it is what it is. I can't really, you know, speak on that, but it doesn't stop me at all, because I guess the vision and my compass is in my heart and in my mind. So that just directs me. It's always directed me all my life as far as just keep moving forward, like you say. So there's challenges, but I mean, the way that I look at it is I'm very blessed. My ancestors did not have the same opportunities that I have. I mean, even just from my father, and I'm not even going to go back to my grandfather and all that far, but just even him, he wouldn't have had the access and the opportunities that I have to create and actually make an impact the way that I can now. And so I just do what I got to do. I really focus on that. I don't think about all those no's. I don't think about all those doors slamming in my face. I just focus on the mission, what needs to be done, and then getting it done. And really the way that I view it now is that, you know, we're the we're the storytellers. So we're the ones that really have to be we can't worry about anybody else funding us. If we have something to say, we have to be the ones to get it out there. And when you have platforms like PhillyCAM that inspire and provide resources for us to bring that message front, we still get it done. And so I don't really think too much of the negative. I really focus on the positive. And our ultimate goal for Higher Than 7 is that, you know, we want to be a major platform. We don't want to be no small time player. We want to be a player like Netflix, you know, like Disney Plus, all these type of players. But obviously it takes resources and funding. But if it comes down to the creativity and it comes down to the work ethic, that's the one thing that I know that we'll be able to trump all of them with, you know, put my money to the bank, you know, and I mean, the work is shown because of what we've been able to do with nothing. So if we're given something, you know, we're able to make something out of it. So that is the ultimate goal. We're going to continue to work that. But more importantly than that is we want to continue to impact the people that we work with. So it's really about the customer, right? It's really about the viewer, the people that are watching our content. We want to continue to inspire them. And then we want to inspire the people that work with us on our platform. So if I could just narrow it down, I would say that would be our goal.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And that's a, you know, ancestral historical thing, right? Is that like, you know, even going back to the types of foods that we had to, you know, like eat in slavery. Now, you know, like now there's whole restaurants where everybody lining up. I can't even get a plate. You know what I mean? Like we always we're resilient folks. And we continue to build and move, and we will move mountains to achieve the goals that we need to achieve. And if we have a community behind us, we're really unstoppable.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a testament to all of y'all tonight. You guys are amazing creators, and I'm happy to share space with you.
Thank you.
I think that we're gonna bring everybody back on. Hey y'all. Hey.
Oh.
Is Adrienne here too? Okay. Yeah, I think that we have a bit of time to kind of ask some questions, and I'm wondering, you know, Adrienne and Anissa and Janine and Anisse, you all have had time to kind of like see each other's work. If you all had questions, if not, I have tons of questions for you for each other. Yeah, just wondering if you have any questions about other folks on the panel. No pressure.
Well, the only thing I would say is that you guys are doing amazing work. It's funny because I saw my acupuncturist in the video and I was like, wow, like, 6 degrees of separation. So I just think you guys are just individually, you guys are doing such amazing work. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. So that's what I would say.
I want to second that too. And in addition to the amazing work that you guys are doing as women, first off, happy Women's Month. I think it's important to acknowledge that. But in addition to that, you guys are carrying the torch for a lot of young women out there as well. They get to see you and see the work that you're creating. And it's really inspiring, and especially in a month like this and a time like this too. So I want to give you guys kudos.
Thank you. I take that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to give you all an opportunity really quick to just share your social media or your website information, because I realize that I might not have mentioned that, and I want to make sure that people will go and follow you and check out your work. So maybe we can start with Anissa and then kind of go next to Janine and Adrienne.
Sure. So you guys can check us out at www.higherthan7.com, and that is the number 7.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook at Higher Than 7 TV. Please check us out. And if you have content, please share it with us, DM us, reach out to us. That's really what Higher Than 7 is for. We're really a community platform and just want to be there for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Our handles is literally at Lil Filmmakers everywhere. So it's Lil, Lil, Filmmakers, plural. But yeah, same here. We are so interested in just building community within our community. And like PhillyCAM is a part of that community. The young people walking past the office right now, they're part of our community. So same here. If you have any questions or you just want to stop by with a mask, okay, if you got vaccinated, you're wearing a mask. Just let's let us know. We're just open to connect with everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, Adrienne, can you share your info?
Sure. Yeah, I don't have for the new healer any pages up. However, that's still in the works for the studio, just to get a swath of a lot of wellness practitioners of color. You can go to studio34yoga.com. So that's studio34yoga.com. And also for the new healer, if anyone themselves is considering, any for Black women are considering transferring into the wellness industry, either part-time or full-time, or just would like a supportive community to speak about and just understand more about what that could look like for them in that journey, or if you have done that already and would like to be on another upcoming episode, feel free to reach out to me. And my email is just my first name, Adrienne, at studio34yoga.com.
Awesome. And Anissa, do you have, I don't know if you want to share your IG. I don't know how personal you want to get, girl. If there's anything that, or anywhere, anywhere you want to push us towards. I know folks will like to connect with you.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So Janine and I also started a new program that we started. It's a media arts residency for Philadelphia creatives 18 to 25, Guideline Media. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook. We also have a page on Lil Filmmakers website. So I would love, definitely for everybody to check it out, see what that's about. We're investing in those artists between those ages to give them the opportunity to make the content that they would like to see.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think I'm gonna maybe just close on a question for you all, and I'd love for you all to kind of respond to this. Is what do you feel like the either the focus needs to be, or the narrative moving forward in 2021 for Black creators should be? And I'm not saying like this is like what you have to kind of stick to, but I'm just wondering, because there's so many different things happening in the world right now. And I know I have my own response to that question, and I would love to hear from you all. Like what message which message should we be kind of focusing on, in your opinion, as a community of Black creators and entrepreneurs?
That's a great question. I would say control your own narrative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Black folk has this history where people will tell our stories or their perception of our stories or the propaganda around our stories, and it's damaged our community tremendously. And I know it's also impacted how people feel about themselves. So just understanding that you have power in your own truth and your own authenticity, and it's okay to be yourself and to share who you are, whether you're a filmmaker or a healer or whatever the case may be. So that's the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll come in right after that, because I feel one of the things that we really can spread is more content on education, and just, you know, educating, and it, like how we're talking about health and wellness and fitness and just everything that's happening in our community, continuing to educate. I will mention one of the contents that we have, content partner that we have, is a filmmaker named Tisha Robinson Daly, who is a Sundance Night Fellow, and her show is actually on Higher Than 7 on PhillyCAM, and it's educating just the people about tower climbers and, you know, the suffering that's happening. We have a huge mortality rate of tower climbers when your phone is going off, that are actually going up there, fixing your cell phone tower just so you can get back online, and they're dying. And you know what I mean? Bringing these things to the forefront, just through education is really powerful. So I would just continue to educate. That's really great content that we can continue to build on as well.
Yeah, thank you for all of those. And as soon as the question started, I was thinking, I was like, tell your story your own way. Came in with your own narrative. And what I would add to that and all the great things that were just said is to be okay with getting messy. I don't, you know, I just really want to make space for that, because honestly, that's how I learn. And there's one of the things is sometimes you know, just thinking about so many people who are coming in and wanting to tell their stories. And sometimes it takes iterations to be able to know really what your story is. I know I'm still going through that and how to speak it out. And so it's like, how can we get a little bit of messy? And there's a lot of Black film creators who are so funny and so hilarious and have great things. And a lot of times it's kind of like what I hear from folks is that this may not be PC enough, or I'm not being serious enough. And, you know, I have to be more Sundance, less Adult Swim with like how I'm approaching my content. And I just would love us to be able to show so many of those sides, especially like the silliness that, you know, that can come out of us, because there's so much joy that is there. So people can get messy to make things happen. I'm all about that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think we don't often say that. So Adrienne, yes, again, you really are. You're pretty magical. Like seriously, we don't often say that. I feel like as like Black women, as like just Black folks in general, is like make mistakes, you know, like keep pushing, and like you'll figure it out. But like, yeah, get messy. Yes to that. I'm gonna see if Anissa is gonna jump back in, so I'll answer my own perspective and see if she pops back on. But you know, I would have to say too about just getting out of our own way. I think, you know, the last couple of months for me, like it has definitely been a thing of just like not letting these like roadblocks, whether it is like, you know, environmental or internal, really kind of hold you and keep you frozen. And I think that, like, you know, like looking at, you know, somebody like, you know, all of y'all really, you know, who have like had this idea and vision and just kind of like moved on it and was just like, I'm gonna figure it out, or I'm gonna just keep pushing, of this like real like forward thinking. I think, yeah, it is really a motivator and something that I feel like we should be focusing on. It's like just get out of our own way. Yeah. Okay, so it seems like Anissa's having
her Wi-Fi said done with that.
Okay.
She's trying to get back in.
I totally understand that. Well, I want to thank you all again, Anisse and Adrienne and Janine. Thank you so much for sharing the work that you're doing, and I hope that you continue to grow, and we can all kind of reach out to each other to support. I really appreciate it. So yeah, we're gonna end.
Can I say real quick? You were the best host ever.
I don't know about
you need a show or something, sis.
Yeah.
I'm like stumbling, reflecting.
That's what's beautiful about it. That's what's beautiful about it. I love it. I love it. Let's go.
Thank you, Janine. Yeah, I love PhillyCAM, and I love, like, I'm so glad that, like, Laura and I kind of have, had this idea of creating these media literacy, like, series, because it's so important. And we get to connect with people who are doing this work, and we don't get, especially during, like, quarantine, we haven't had the opportunity to be able to, like, talk to people in this way and, like, see people's faces. I get to see all up in people's houses. It's great. I love it. So thank you all again. Continue to stay connected. I'm sure we'll share out links again to folks' work. And check out some of the media that PhillyCAM is working. I know we just came out with a newsletter today. There's so much good content being created on radio and television. I got a Roku. I can watch PhillyCAM. What? Like, come on. We're everywhere. So thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Great job. Bye.